another deadly workplace shooting, this time at a Walmart. An employee opening fire on co-workers and on an officer. The suspect showing up early this morning, targeting those fellow workers. He shot that officer too. They say that officer survived only because he had a bulletproof vest on. The gunman was shot. He did survive. He's now under arrest. 2 co-workers are dead. Shaken employees gathered outside, learning it was one of their own, and tonight the heartbreak and the search for answers in South Haven, Mississippi.
6:33 this morning, customers who had just walked out of this 24-hour Walmart supercenter in suburban Memphis say that the gunfire started in the parking lot, and then the man with the firearm ran inside the store.
Kind of shook up over it, really. Once people realized what was going on, they all just flooded out.
What was going on was yet another active shooter. And according to Walmart, the accused gunman was a disgruntled employee. Police have arrested 39-year-old Martez Abram, now charged with 2 counts of murder.
But we begin today in the United Kingdom, where a new highly critical report looking into knife crime has found the government's response completely inadequate. With over 44,000 knife crime offences in England and Wales just last year, the figures are the highest since records began. The report by the UK Home Affairs Committee has described the rise in serious youth violence as a social emergency, and that young people have been failed in the most devastating way, losing their lives as a result. Well, our correspondent Vincent McAviney is in London for us, and he believes that the cuts in the police numbers in the United Kingdom in the last 10 years is one of the reasons for the increased violence.
It is being called a social emergency, and the homicide rate in the UK has steadily increased by over a third in the past 5 years. And if we look at knife offences specifically, there has been a rise of 70%, particularly amongst boys under the age of 18.
People in the Russian capital, Moscow, have been protesting against plans to build a new road near the site of a nuclear waste dump. The authorities say the construction work poses no risk to the local community, but residents say they do not believe the government has their best interests at heart, and they are determined to stop the project. DW's Emily Sherwin reports.
Dangerous levels of radiation. That's what nuclear physicist Andrei Azharovsky's radiation counter tells him every time here. Moscow's polymetals factory started dumping nuclear waste on this hill in the 1940s and 50s, when the area in the south of Moscow wasn't yet part of the city. So far, the radioactive material is contained under a layer of clay, but the activist insists that the planned highway could cut straight through the nuclear waste.
I looked up and saw a little child was dangling there. My first reaction was to find something to catch him. I thought about catching him with my bare hands, but that wouldn't have worked. I held out the blanket with others while looking up at the child and wondered whether we could catch him safely. My only thought was to keep him safe.
Protesters in court charged with rioting, the most serious charges brought since the unrest began. A day after violence that shocked the city, demonstrators outside the courthouse called for an independent inquiry into the use of force by police.
They may have the backup from Beijing, but clearly this kind of condition will only elevate the violence. Young people will only become more united.
Police and protesters went head-to-head in renewed clashes in Hong Kong on Tuesday, as hundreds gathered around Kwai Chung police station to demand the release of their peers. Beijing has accused foreign actors of encouraging the protests.
In Normandy's lush countryside, the Vezin Dam spans the Sélune River. Built nearly a century ago to create hydroelectric power, it was long considered a feat of engineering. But in recent years, the dam's capacity to provide energy has diminished, so the French government's ordered its demolition to allow the valley to return to its natural state. Gilles Perret, who's overseeing the project, says that dismantling the 35-metre-high structure is a huge challenge.
For us to drain the water, we had to destroy this building because it was in the way. We made holes at the bottom of the dam to prevent flooding. Then we started working on dismantling these pillars.
The Sélune River flows into the picturesque bay of the world-famous Mont Saint-Michel site. Some environmentalists say that fish, including salmon and eels, will return to the river for the first time in decades once the dam and a smaller one nearby are removed.
New concern about some e-cigarettes. A new study reporting an unexpected chemical reaction in some flavors that could lead to lung irritation. ABC's Eva Pilgrim is here with the latest on that. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Amy. Simply inhaling on the e-cigarette sparks a chemical reaction, and this new study now raising the question, what's happening in that reaction, and is it safe?
This morning, a new study raising concerns about chemical reactions in some e-cigarettes. Researchers from Yale and Duke Universities looking specifically at certain flavors of Juuls, the best-selling e-cigarettes in the U.S., analyzing the liquid and vapor produced when the so-called vape juice is heated up. Reporting they found chemicals called acetyls in one of them, which they say can irritate airways and prompt your respiratory system to become inflamed. The study looked at 8 different Juul e-liquid flavors and concluded that creme brulee, a sweet flavor favored by teens, had acetyls present in the liquid and aerosol.